What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we're going to give you a very early projected record for the South Carolina Gamecocks here in this video. Before we get to those 2024 projections, let's look back at some projections from 2023. You can see, of course, a 5-7 record for South Carolina. Our projection had them at 7-5. My personal prediction was 6-6. Athlon had them at 7-5. The over/under was at 6.5. I actually wanted to pick this team to go 5-7, but seeing the other predictions at 7-5, knowing what they had coming back on offense with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, and I couldn't pull the trigger on 5-7 because I didn't want to look stupid. Well, I would have been right on the money if I'd gone with 5-7. I wound up picking them to beat Clemson, really just to get them to 6-6. Of course, if I had gone the other way, then I would have been further off on Clemson. But anyways, South Carolina, very disappointing last year. And again, they were below the projections, a game and a half under the over/under, which at least I was on the right side of that with my prediction. But again, our projection was higher. They had them at 7-5, and that's what Athlon predicted as well. We'll see what the projections look like this year. Again, here's the schedule. This is the scale that we use. So if it's under 20, over 80, these are games that are pretty much guaranteed wins or losses. 20-29, 71-80, games where I think the spread will be double digits. Team's going to be a pretty clear favorite by a decent amount. And then 30-39, 61-70, games where I think it's going to be much closer, more like a touchdown spread. And then your 50-50 games will be in the white. These are games that could really go either way. And so we'll start with the easy wins. They do have 3 of them, so that's the good news. If they had this non-conference schedule last season, they would have gone 6-6 and would have made it to a bowl game. And of course, they played North Carolina in the non-conference. But yeah, Old Dominion, Akron, and Wofford should be easy wins for the Gamecocks. Just don't see them having any problem in any of those games. Although Old Dominion, I don't really know much about them for this upcoming season, but I know they have won some decent games in the past, so who knows. But I think that's one where South Carolina should take care of business. So you've got 3 wins there that you can pretty much count on. That's the good news. Now we get to the rest of the schedule where, honestly, I don't think they're going to be favored. They might be favored in one more game. I think that's probably about it. I think Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, and Clemson, these are all games where they're going to be underdogs by about a touchdown, and honestly, maybe more than that. This is just with the formula that we use. So Kentucky is in a tier above South Carolina in my tier system, plus the game is on the road. That's why this one's in the yellow. LSU, that's obviously going to be a tough one, but it's at home. LSU and Missouri at home, that's what keeps these games in the yellow instead of in the orange. Home field advantage is obviously very big, and South Carolina has a great home field advantage. And then Clemson on the road, that'll be a tough one there to close out the season, but it's not impossible. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. But I do think South Carolina will clearly be underdogs in these games, but again, not by a lot, but they will be underdogs in all 4 of these games. And then the games where I think they'll be even bigger underdogs, Ole Miss and Oklahoma. I think you're probably talking about double-digit underdogs in both of these games. I've got Ole Miss as a Tier 1 team. I think Ole Miss is going to be that good. Oklahoma, not a Tier 1 team, but this one is on the road. That's why it is in the orange. If this was a home game, then it would be in the yellow. But these games are obviously going to be very tough, and it's hard to imagine South Carolina winning either one of those games. And I'm going to go ahead and say they have no chance against Alabama. It's on the road. This is still, I know Nick Saban's gone, but it's still a really talented team. This is still a top-tier team, and I don't see South Carolina really competing in that game. If it was at home, it'd be in the orange, and you'd say maybe they've got a chance, but on the road, no, I just don't think so. And then that's going to leave Texas A&M and Vanderbilt, and these are the 50-50 games. These are the games where if you win both of these, you get to 5-7, you're still going to have to pull off a pretty big upset to get to a bowl game. So it's going to be tough for South Carolina this year. I think Texas A&M is a better team. I think they'll be favored, but home field advantage, again, makes this one close, and I think South Carolina has a chance to get that win. And I would even, so I have a formula that I use, and I stick with that. But if I was giving you my personal just kind of predictions here, I would probably put Texas A&M in the yellow, and I would put Vanderbilt in the pink or the purple, because I think that I do think South Carolina should be favored by about a touchdown in that game if I was just going by that. And I think Texas A&M probably will be favored by about a touchdown. But again, with the formula that we use, Texas A&M is just in one tier above South Carolina. Home field advantage swings that down to a 50-50 game. And I have South Carolina in a tier above Vanderbilt because it's on the road. That swings that one down to a 50-50 game. Hopefully that makes sense. But anyways, it's a tough schedule, obviously, and only 3 games. I think 4 games where they'll be favored. I do think they'll be favored against Vanderbilt, even if it is only a field goal. That means they're going to have to pull off some upsets just to get to a bowl game. But the odds would say, if you've got, let's just say 3 games in the yellow, which they've got 4. If you got 3 games in the yellow, odds would say you're going to pull off a win in one of those games. And they've got 4 of them. So maybe they could pull off 2 wins. Maybe they could get to potentially a bowl game, or maybe they beat Texas A&M, win one of the games in the yellow, beat Vanderbilt. There are different ways for them to get there, but that is the projection actually, 6-6. That's where South Carolina is projected with our formula, getting to a bowl game. But I think it's going to be tough. This team's going to have to improve from where they were last year if they're going to beat a team like Kentucky or LSU or Missouri or Clemson or even Texas A&M. So I think it's going to be tough for them to get to a bowl game. Not impossible. Our projection does say that they'll do it, though, as it's got the Gamecocks at 6-6. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your projections and your thoughts on this team? Let me know down in the comments below.